So, hey, Dave.
Hey, how's it going, Alan?
Good, good. Great to have you on this series of interviews. As you know, we are um, interviewing some people, connecting with some of our outdoor lifestyle family, people in the industry, the outdoor lifestyle industry.
Yep.
We're going to run these videos on our social media accounts and Outdoor Lifestyle and on Cora Creative, our marketing company as well, and on our YouTube channels. I think it's just a great opportunity to speak to different people in the industry and just to see how they're coping, what's going on in their lives, maybe tell us a little bit about themselves, and spread some positivity and cheer where it's badly needed, kind of in this current time. So thanks for being on the call. Really appreciate it. Love your background. Tell us a little bit about that background before we kick off.
It's kind of one of my favorite projects. It was a small little backyard in Toronto off the beaches. And actually it was for a friend of ours that owns a furniture company. You might have heard of it, Casual Life Furniture. So it was one of my favorite projects and kind of keeps me inspired during this downturn in construction. I'm a hands-on guy. I love to be out there working and consulting. And at the moment, we can't do any physical work because of the cease work order.
Yeah, this brings us right into what was going to be exactly going to be the next question. Great segue. So, yeah, tell us about, first of all, what you do in we'll call them the normal times, pre-COVID-19, and how you're then coping and mitigating those kind of this crisis and how you're navigating that. So, yeah.
Well, as one of the co-owners of Natural Landscape Group, Design, Build, and Consulting, I love to be out doing construction, and that's been my passion for the last 30 years is actually doing design build. And that's been a little bit slow at the moment. As you know, I love to also advocate what's going on in the industry and doing some product reviews. And again, I can't really do that outdoors, but I'm just feeding myself a little inspiration with this picture. And but I am able to cope in one capacity because of the knowledge that I have. I still do online consultations or physical distancing consultations, which I can still come to site. I actually, we had a client that, or actually not a client at that time, but they won one of our design consultation. Actually, hold on one sec. We were promoting through charity events these consultations that we donate to charities, hospitals, and actually a client had won one and phoned in and asked if she could use her consult at this time, and which I said sure. So idea was I pulled up into the driveway, got on the phone, said I'm here. She came to the door and just kind of discussed that we were probably a good 10, 15 feet away. She was just pointing in certain directions saying what of her challenges. And then I said, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'll take all her information. I took some video, a couple of short measurements, and then I returned home to do all my concept sketches, which I will take a picture and send back to her. So I'm able to at least still do something that makes me very passionate about this industry is create.
That's
I get
great.
to design, I get to hear people's pain, and I get to try and come up with solutions. And so at least on that level, I'm still trying to keep the creative flow going.
That's great. So in terms of you were coming into this season as a company, and you obviously had work booked and stuff like that. And this, crucially and horribly, is the time of the year where everybody in the outdoor lifestyle industry comes out of hibernation, comes out of winter, where everything's hunkered down and kind of shuttered. And they come into the spring and it's time to get going. So how does it feel to be coming from that and have, I suppose, a brick wall put in front of you?
Actually, I didn't take it very well at first. I was one of those guys that were looking at all the terms and conditions of not being able to work and try to find the loophole of why we could continue to work. And every roadblock I kind of looked at, I was blocked. And so I accepted it. And our company got very proactive. We talked to all our customers, told them we are waiting with bated breath to come out and continue the works. And they were quite frustrated to begin with, but of course did understand the government is, for the safety of the public and ourselves and our customers, put the cease work order. And then the next step was phoning all our suppliers and letting them know that, yes, we had kind of gotten started. Actually, we started a little bit earlier than we did last year because it was a mild winter. So we had suppliers sending us their supplies. We got our jobs rolling. We were about to make our milestone payments, and then wham, we got stopped. So we had to get proactive on the phone call with all our suppliers and let them know, hey, we're still going to stay afloat. So what was great is the support of our suppliers all understood our position. I mean, I've been in the business 30 years. I carry a reputation with many of the original suppliers that I started in business with. And they said, great, Dave, we understand where you're at. And when you resume work, let's get back to, doing our financial payments. And
that's pretty,
customers are
that's proactive.
Yeah, the suppliers understanding. The employees actually are taking this as a little bit of a positive vacation, I guess. Out of all our employees, which I believe there's about 13 or 14 employees, 2 of them were real wanting to continue work, but
yes,
they understand they can't. The rest of them are actually in kind of, I guess, enjoying their unemployment insurance vacation at the moment. So, but proactively as a company, the owners, myself and my other 4 business partners, we are looking to inspire the public, possibly, how to build your own vegetable garden, or how to design and do it yourself with some of the DIY resources that are still available. There's soil companies that will deliver a bag of soil.
Yes.
There are rental companies that will allow curbside pickup for rental use of the equipment.
Yes.
So if there's anybody that wants advice,
yes,
and good, solid, do-it-yourself advice, I've made myself available to become an advisor to the general public.
Why don't you talk, just to jump in for a second, I think that's a great opportunity maybe to explain to people about your Just Ask Dave channel, where you have your Instagram account, your website, but mostly on your Instagram, you seem to get a lot of traffic there. And this sounds like the concept behind Just Ask Dave.
Yeah, well, actually, it was only started a few years ago. It was not something that had been on for the 30 years that I've been around the business. But what I was offering is basically good free advice that I can offer through email or a quick telephone chat, basically directing homeowners in a direction so that they can avoid some errors. I find that there's a lot of DIYers that maybe weren't either asking questions, or there were other professional companies not willing to share their trade secrets.
Okay.
And I just sort of feel like, I've been in business 30 years. I'm going to pay it forward to the public out there that I can offer you unbiased advice on where to go, who to talk to, where to rent, where to buy, just based on my positive experiences. I'm not endorsed to actually be paid to sell you something.
Yes.
I love Royer Bootwear. I mean, I love supporting that company because they carry a great product. But when it comes to even interlocking stone or soil, I just ask a few questions about what my clients' likes are, and then I try to marry them together with the right choices. I've had some clients wanting to pay me to come out beyond the free advice, which is, resulted in some consulting work, which is great. But I'm going to focus on that during this pandemic. Even open up online sketch consultations. So if you want to call in or email to me and schedule, where you can send me some photographs, send me some dimensions. We can then pre-arrange and schedule a Zoom consultation.
That's awesome.
And then also direct people with the resources that are still open for business.
Yes.
And that's what we're going to continue to do.
And then you can,
through my Just Ask Dave channel.
That's awesome.
Landscape.
Yeah. And then on your on your Just Ask Dave, I often see people, it's great content on there, by the way. And I often see people just kind of direct message you looking for advice on types of plants, problems with their lawn. I think I've seen something.
Yeah, actually, I just recently had a contractor who was in a bit of a pinch on finishing his landscape project in tandem to his pool project. Now, I'm very well versed in pool installation and pool restoration. So I was able to communicate with that contractor and say, well, listen, we can help you. We can direct you. We just also have to understand, can he finish the works, which I believe he can, because it was permitted works
Okay.
before April
Got
4th.
it. Yeah.
So we can point him in the right direction or give him some advice on
Okay.
getting the job completed. But I even get calls from other professional
Got it.
contractors in this
Yeah.
industry.
Which is great.
Some
It's great
have only
industry.
been in business for 5 years, some have been in business for 10 years or plus, but they're asking me about, well, what resources could I share to them? Which, you know, I'm just developing on
That's awesome.
SoundCloud through Just Ask Dave, experiences that I've had in dealing with problems, dealing
That's
with
great.
customer communication. So
That's
all
awesome.
that's available online.
Okay.
That's
So
what's keeping me busy right now.
good. No, you sound like you've no idle time. You're keeping busy. I think that's important. What about I've often seen on your Just Ask Dave channel, you spoke about over the past few years about urban gardening, and I know you were into it yourself. And
Yes.
I think the world and its mother now knows that sector looks like it's going to, and is going to explode, because people have been going to the supermarket and have now had something they didn't have before, which is fear of not having enough to eat. Not necessarily everybody, but I'm just saying that they've seen empty shelves, which gives them that fear, and then they've seen a lot of people online from their houses, from where they live, isolated, saying, okay, let's put a garden together. So talk to us a little bit about that, because you've been an advocate for that before it was super trendy now. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've always been a lover of growing vegetables. I'm one of those guys that like to, you know, walk out in a summer morning with a coffee and then see a ripe tomato and pluck it and eat that tomato is something of a great experience, just to pull that out of your own garden. So I actually got into vegetable gardening as I live residentially within Dundas. And I'm looking at always, you know, things that are, you can preserve, things that you can use for immediate cooking. Actually, I was kind of inspired by a colleague in this industry. You might know, of course, Carson Arthur, who was showing people how to grow.
We actually have a video of Carson.
50 pounds of potatoes in a little 4 foot by 4 foot square area as you stack it up. I mean, things like that. People need to realize that I don't think we're going to run out of food necessarily, but it's, have you ever been out in front of a metro these days and you're in an hour lineup? Was just recently going to buy some groceries.
It just
and
doesn't
realize
feel good.
if I can go in my own backyard and pluck these out of my own backyard, these are some of the things that I think are going to be trending. People are paying, you know, $2,000-3,000 in property taxes, so they own the house. But then look outside the home, they must own almost half or even the same footprint size of green space. And
that's awesome.
It would be smart of us to utilize that green space and start growing sustainable gardens. Growing herbs, vegetables, root vegetables that can last a long time after they're harvested.
So if you had just to jump in for a second, just to try and give people listening who are thinking about this and saying, oh, Dave is talking about that urban gardening thing, I've got to get into it. Obviously, people can go on YouTube and your channel and stuff like that, get advice. But if you were to advise somebody and they said, what 5 vegetables should I grow? Which ones, you know, which 4 or 5 ones would you start off with to get somebody, you know, up and running and confident in this?
Well, you know, carrots, potatoes, onions, turnips, root vegetables that have a lot of long shelf life, nutritional value, starches, natural sugars, things that actually, after they're even cooked, they freeze well to be reheated later. So actually, I am associated in another industry in which I'm connecting a restaurant to a food supplier, and that food supplier actually, just as of yesterday, I got off the phone, he's donating close to 300 pounds of vegetable produce to help this restaurant give out free meals. But the way that they're figuring out the menu is that if it doesn't get used right away, you can freeze and portion that out later. So if homeowners are going to be concerned to be sustainable, I would say go after the root vegetables. I mean, lettuce, you can use immediately. You know, you go out, you cut it, you want to eat it. So you can't freeze it. You know, but cabbage, I mean, you can make cabbage rolls and then freeze them later. So if you have an opportunity to grow root vegetables, squashes do really extremely well, where you can pluck a squash in September, even a little bit later, beginning of October, sit that squash inside the house for maybe a month, then make a butternut squash, then freeze the butternut squash, and then use it again later on for Christmas dinners.
That's pretty
so
cool.
There's great opportunity. Actually, there was a book given to me by Frankie Flowers, who put out about growing vegetables. It was a great book, gave me a little insight to other things that I could look at growing in my own backyard to be a bit more sustainable.
Okay.
Because you never know, these lineups could get really big.
Absolutely.
Further down the road.
Another question is, somebody asked me recently, was in relation to growing cannabis. So obviously, people can legally, we're not the law here, but it is legal to grow a certain number of plants at home for your own.
I get a lot of calls actually on that one.
So talk to us a little bit about that, because people are very interested.
So interesting enough, 3 weeks ago, I started getting a few emails and direct messages through my Instagram account about cannabis plants, growing them, germinating them. But also recently, in the last week, I started getting emails and calls from people, I'm going to say pretty much from their mid-40s, from mid-40s and up, that are looking for a pain ailment cannabis suggestions. So cannabis with high CBD levels that would help mitigate pain, mitigate sleep and anxiety that they have. So I was actually showing on one of my personal Instagram accounts that you can germinate a cannabis seed probably in about 3 days using some wet paper towel and a heat register home. Now I've moved those to little pots, and I've assigned the ones that I know that help with sleep, and I know the ones that help sign with some pain that I get usually through just mild arthritis. I've hit my over 50 mark just last year, turning 51 this. Started noticing in my own hands that when I started taking things that had CBD, or take the cannabis, because I don't really like to smoke, I like to infuse it in a coconut oil, and then my wife uses it to cook cookies for me. So when I'm feeling the bad temperatures hit, the cold temperatures, and my hands start to ache, I take one of those cookies later on in the evening. I sleep peacefully. I wake up with less pain in my hands. So that's helped me as well.
These are just for people who are watching this video who aren't necessarily, very knowledgeable about cannabis. And I'm not particularly knowledgeable about cannabis. Could you explain the difference between CBD and the psychoactive THC elements of the plant?
Right.
Because a lot of science in that, and what's the difference?
So THC is obviously the psychoactive chemical that makes you feel high. CBD, you don't feel any result of being high, and it actually mitigates pain. So CBD is the cannabinol that reduces pain, inflammation. It can take away the anxiety or stress that people feel. So people that are overthinkers, over anxiety, it kind of calms the brain down a little bit, allows them to fall asleep easier, mitigates the pain, sometimes internal. I've had a large spectrum of people calling me and telling me that thanks for the advice. They went after the high CBD content cannabis. And even for people that have had issues with Crohn's, which is a really bad inflammation of the colon, they said they've noticed results. I've had customers that have high anxiety and they can't sleep. They've lost sleep, and they've tried sleep pills, but now they've gotten off of those because they go towards the either tincture CBD oil, or they put it in an edible format like cookies, because if you're not into the recreational smoking, edibles are a great way to get it into the body and not damage the lungs. So
that's cool.
I've been asked by several people about what knowledge I can direct them to. I use Leafly. It's an app and I look at what are the strains that are highest in CBD. And I get some people that say, I'd like some euphoric effects, but I don't want to be,
Got it.
knocked out. So, there's sativa strains and
Got it.
indica strains. So the indica will really put you in the couch.
It sounds like we could do. It sounds like we could do another complete separate video on.
Yeah. I could talk about some. I'm fascinated by the medicinal purposes of a lot of plants that are out there. Like,
Amazing.
they're.
Amazing.
I don't want to get off topic, but like birch trees carry a fungus called chaga, antiviral.
Yes.
Great for putting in a tea or coffee or just having one before you go to bed. But it's got such high healing properties. So I've always been one to look at vegetables. What can we have in our diet? I've always been one to look at natural herbal remedies like chaga, CBD cannabis, even hemp. Hemp, if you can find CBD derived just from the hemp, there is no THC present in hemp cannabinol. And if you can find places online or through the Ontario Cannabis Store, look for the high CBD content. It does wonders for the body.
Oh, amazing. I think this we could probably listen to you talking all day, but I suppose I'm going to encourage people. I'm going to make sure we tag Just Ask Dave wherever we post this video, because it sounds like there's going to be some great content over the next while, in relation to all of these subjects. I mean, people want to see how to cultivate plants, grow plants, all of that. So, and I think watching your journey through this season, I think it's a great time for people to kind of to get into that, especially with your knowledge and your experience. You've done it all. You've done it before. You've made the mistakes. You've had the successes, and you know what you're talking about. So I think for me and for people watching, it's been a great kind of chat for you. I mean, what would, just to round things off, what advice would you give people in relation to being isolated now? Like what could they do? You mentioned most people have a little bit of green space. What would you encourage people to do right now to maybe help them mentally?
Focus on your own health. One of the things that I think we really take for granted is I'm a person that loves to stay busy, busy, busy. It gives me my drive and I guess sense of worth of being busy and in business and helping others. I'm taking this moment to take care of myself. I do yoga twice a week at home. I work out 4 to 5 times a week at home. And I'm eating right, and I'm just doing some research and spending time with my wife, taking more opportunity to talk to family around me that I haven't spent a lot of time communicating with. So I'm finding that this has been actually, although at the beginning it was difficult to accept, now I'm taking more time to balance my health and make connections with people on a level which I hadn't had time for. So I'm really enjoying the time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think what you've said, we have a number of people lined up to do some interviews with, some great connections, and some people we haven't spoke to in such a long time, like this, face to face. So I think one of the positives to take out of this really difficult situation we are in is that it has given people the chance to do exactly what you just said, to think, to calm down a bit, think about what's important to your health, your family, all your mental health, really, really important. And reconnecting is a great word, and you said it, just reconnecting with people. And one of the points somebody made on one of our interviews recently is that there's never been a better time for somebody to accept your connection request. So when we're all busy, and it's like it's hard to get a hold of somebody, and you want them to call you back, and they kind of don't, or they can't, or they're just too busy. Now people are like, oh, you want to talk to me? Yes. We sent out some invitations to different people for these videos, and now I've got like too many, so the challenge, which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing. So it's people literally saying yes. They want to talk, but they really want to connect. They want to connect with other human beings. So it's been amazing to catch up with you in your virtual backyard there. It's beautiful. And so again, these videos are going to be posted on various social media accounts that we have. And
excellent.
I want to say thank you very much. If anybody's any questions for you, DM, comment on the video if it's on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, wherever, and we'll make sure Dave gets the questions and we get the answers. So
Yeah,
thank you.
I'll be
Thank you,
glad.
Dave. Have
Thanks,
a great
Alan,
day.
for having me.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.